Hi, welcome to Grace by Rain, a podcast about the beauty in life. I'm your host, Elaine Shircliff. Hey everyone, welcome back. This will be my second to last episode of season 5. My next one will drop tomorrow. So back-to-back epis to close out what was a wild and crazy season 5, and I don't mean that in a good way. Very sporadic, very up and down, which is what my life was, starting from September all the way through the end of the season. Just wild, crazy pants time of my life. Insane. I typically take all of August off and come back in September, but this time I've decided I'm going to take mid-August to probably mid-September off. I need to finish unpacking. I have been in Grand Rapids for a little over 4 months and still not done unpacking. I was almost there, and then I realized I have a lot of stuff and I just need to get rid of stuff. So I'm going to spend that time just purging my life away. And also, my birthday's coming up. It's my 40th. It's kind of a big one. And I just kind of want to enjoy it and not have to worry about any content creating, because I know once September hits, it's going to just be crazy, right? Like, it's going to be insane in the best way. Luckily, with the Griffins schedule, since I'm only covering them this season, I don't have any games on Monday. And I think it's like 1 game on Tuesdays. It might be 4 games on Tuesday. But they're all away. And then on Thursdays, either 1 or 4 games on Thursdays. I can't remember. I'd have to pull up the schedule. We're not close enough to the season yet for me to have this stuff memorized. Now, that will allow me to be a bit more consistent with this podcast in season 6. I don't think consistency is going to be weekly. I would like to experience Western Michigan a little bit more. I'd like to get back to my hometown of Chicago a little bit more, since it's now 3 hours away, although I'm driving through Indiana, so it's usually under construction, 25 hours a day. Yeah, I swear, there's like an extra hour in Indiana. And 365 days a year, sometimes 366 days. It's awful. So sometimes it adds like an hour in there. But I want to do things. I want to, the 2024-2025 season was really tough. I almost quit. I almost quit writing. It almost happened. Well, it was going to happen. If I didn't move to Grand Rapids, I would have been done with covering hockey, because I just didn't have it in me anymore to continuing covering an organization where I had to write about people that I love dying. And I know there are people who can do it, and they do it well. Aaron Portzline, that's the best one I can think of. Aaron Portzline. That man, like, I don't know how he does any of it. I don't know how he does it. He's covered so much rough stuff with that organization, and he keeps on going, and like, great for him. I love that about him. I love his spirit. I love the way he handles those moments. They were destroying me. They were very much destroying me. Like, I loved Matisse so much. Best player I ever covered. And Johnny, so great. He really bought into my writing. And so, he would check in on me, especially when Eric Robinson was a monster. So before he was even with the Jackets, this man had reached out to me, bought into me, and I am so forever thankful for that. But because of that, it made covering the team hard. Covering the monsters hard, there's always a reminder. And last season, there was always a reminder of both everywhere. Every time you turn around, couldn't even like watch a freaking game, any NHL game, right? Like any of them. It was always talked about, which he has a great legacy. And I want to talk about his life and what his life meant. But so many people wanted to just really hit home that he was dead. And I get that people grieve differently, but I couldn't do it anymore. So, this past season, real rough. And I'm looking to just start new and do things the way this podcast was intended to be, was about the beauty in life with either local people, or if I was talking about sports, I was talking with people about the little beauties that make them, or what make the league they cover or the thing they do so special. And that's what I really want to get back to in season 6. And I will share all of that right before episode 1 of season 6. I will post like a small 10-minute tops episode with like the schedule, what my plans are. I have a lot of things I'd like to do, but I also have to really look and be honest with myself and say, if something tragic happens, am I going to be able to do this? If I'm tired, am I going to be able to do this? So I just need to take, about a month and really assess, because I want to do the right things. I want you guys to enjoy this. I know a lot of people enjoyed it in the beginning because it was so cool and refreshing, and I want that again. So, and if you have any suggestions about what you want me to do, like, let's go. Let's do it. I'll listen. Just reach out to me on all my socials. Everything is at I'm a Rain Dancer. I will respond. I love social media. We've discussed it on so many episodes that I love to be social on social media. That's why it's called social media. So I will say, though, that I will continue to do advice for journalists and content creators. I will continue doing that. Okay. It won't be every week. No way. I don't have that much advice. Or like maybe things will pop up. Maybe things will pop up. And I'll just be like, hey, this is a good time. Or maybe somebody has a question for me for advice and I'll answer it right on the pod. I'll do it. Also, I want to finish the Furin episodes. Season 2 drops January 2026, and I want to be done with them by the time that drops because I love this anime so much. I'm so glad that Mike and Ryan from Nation got me into it and had me watch it because it was so beautiful, and it's so what this podcast is about. So we're going to get back to that. And that's something I'm going to be working on, and I'm going to be filming during my little break whenever I have a chance, because those are short ones. They're like 15 minutes. And I'm also trying not to have these be long anymore because editing, I'm only one person. Interviews are different, but if it's just me talking, it's after this one, because I can already tell it's going to be long. After this one and the next one, there'll be time limits. I don't want to monopolize people's time. I know people don't always want to hear me ramble. And I want, like I said, I want it to mean something. I want it to mean something to people, not just me. It started out as kind of like a thing I wanted to do to help people. Just maintain and remember that there's beauty in this world. And then it became like this cathartic release for me, but I also don't need it to be that cathartic that my episodes of just me talking are like an hour and a half long. No more. All right. So for this episode, it is entitled The Beauty of Doing Things Alone. So I thought I was doing things alone all the time in Northeast Ohio. Turns out I wasn't really alone. In the back of my mind, I always knew that when I went out, no matter where I went, I would run into family. There's 107 of us on the one side, and probably like 40, 50, maybe 60 live in Northeast Ohio, especially in like Rocky River, Lakewood, West Park. Like That's a lot of people in a smaller area. And I would always run into like family or friends of friends, people I volunteered with. I used to help out with a day-long Catholic family festival at the seminary called the Fest. And so when you do that for 15 plus years, from when you were in high school, you are going to run into a lot of people. I would go to a lot of parish talks, and I would go to parishes and I would talk about the festival. I would meet with people at the parishes. You get to know a lot of people, and then also co-workers, or someone knew me from covering the Cleveland Monsters. So I didn't realize it until I moved to Michigan that I was never really alone. Which being alone is tough. I thought I would be like, oh, I have my alone space. Oh, I went to this movie alone. I ran into someone I knew. Only person in the theater. The person like taking my ticket. Listened to me when I was on the Animation podcast talking about anime. Like, world is small, guys. World is small. And it's really small when you've lived in the same place and hang out in the same place for a really long time. Now in Grand Rapids, I don't know nearly as many people. And the people I do know, there's few of those who I actually am able to see and spend time with. And even them, their time is very limited. So when I go out and do something here, I am truly alone. There is no one I'm running into. Okay? Not a single person. And I was terrified for the first few months to do anything without going with someone I know, because it's so far out of my comfort zone, and I didn't realize that it was out of my comfort zone. I am super friendly, and I do just like randomly make friends and start conversations, but it's a lot easier when you think you might run into someone, or maybe that person knows someone you know and you can bond with them on that, or maybe you've run in similar circles or had similar experiences because of your job or because of your volunteer, so maybe they knew you at some point in passing. It makes it a lot easier when those are possibilities, that maybe you have already known each other. And when I'm traveling, I travel alone a lot, so it's like a different vibe, right? I know I'm going to be solo adventuring. I pre-plan for solitude. I put myself in a spot where I am around people, and I put myself in the frame of mind that I'm going to have to maybe meet people, new people, but they might not be in my life forever because I'm solo traveling, so it is a different vibe. But when you live somewhere, it's very daunting to go out and just meet people, especially when you're my age. And I know 40, almost 40, not old. I mean, I don't think it's old. I don't feel like I'm old. So it's not old in my mind. But there are things I have to take into account. Like, how am I meeting people my age? Most people are married and they have kids. And, it's weird if a single person shows up to a park and it's like, hey, I'm just here to make friends. It's a little bit creepy. So trying to, find places where I can meet people is tough. I've met and become friends with so many people in between the ages of like 28 and 32, 33. I'm used to being the baby in like every group. And it's a little weird for me. But I mean, I get along with them and, not mad about it. It's not a weird dynamic. I did meet someone who was like 20, and I had to be like, I don't know if we can be friends. Like, we can't be like friends. Maybe we could, but like, I could be your mom. I could be your mom. Could definitely be your mom. So that was that was interesting for me. But like I said, comfort zones. But yeah, so I was doing this thing though too, where, and I never did this ever in my life because I literally wouldn't care. I would just go do stuff on my own. I would just go out and explore, get lost in a national park, get stuck on a mountain, you know, stuff like that. You know, maybe get caught up in a tree because I realized I couldn't get down because I was hiking alone. These are all things that like were not terrifying to me. I always though would just like go and like live life. Just go do it. Since I moved here, I had told myself if I wanted things to be better and different than the way it was in Ohio, I was going to do things differently. To which I found out this thing that I started doing, I never want to do again. It's so far outside of my personality, and I hate it. I started to not do things. I was waiting for a specific person or a few people, but mostly one person, to let me know what we might be doing, what our plans were, when we might hang out, and I would just wait, and I wouldn't try to go do anything. And then next thing I knew, I wasted my whole weekend kind of like waiting to hear if we were actually going to hang out. It wasn't a waste. I mean, I cleaned, I wrote, I finished writing my book, all of those kind of things. And a few weekends ago, I finally said, I don't like this. This isn't who I am. And I need to just go out and explore because that's who I am. I love life. I'm passionate about quite literally everything and everyone. So I was like, I'm gonna go out alone. I was terrified. It took me 3 hours to leave the house. I had to like pump myself up. I had a dance party. I did plan where I was going, so not a complete adventure because I knew where I was going, but I had never been there before. Oh, still an adventure. It was fantastic. It was amazing. It was amazing. I went to this place called the Pleasant Peninsula Murals. It's by the Blue Bridge in downtown Grand Rapids. It's under a bridge, not the Blue Bridge, because there's water under the Blue Bridge. But it's right there by the museum and by the Blue Bridge. And people put up murals of the different like wildlife in Michigan, things that need to be saved or talked about more. And it was so beautiful for so many reasons for me. And I'm so glad I went alone because I wouldn't have been able to give it the time and space that it needed to affect me the way that it did. And I'm one of those people who will read everything at an art exhibit or at a museum, and then I just kind of stare at it and let it all soak in. What I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what's happening. A lot of people don't like to do that because they want to go into a museum, they want to go on an art exhibit, they zoom around, snap some photos, they're good to go. I'm like, can we sit at this painting for 25 minutes? I usually have like a book with me, like a notebook, and I write about it if it feels so inclined to write, which in this situation I did. And it was just nice. I didn't feel rushed. I didn't feel like I had to be responding in a specific way, you know. I loved this one mural. I did not know that there is a flower called the monkey flower. Okay. It is indigenous to only Michigan. Remember that. My grandma, Donnelly, she passed away when I was 4. I don't have many memories of her. I also had a series of concussions when I was in high school that also took away a lot of the memories I did have. They're still accessible if something like reminds me of it. So if I, hear a song, see something, or if someone jogs my memory, then I remember things from those times. For the most part, not always. There are some things that I have definitely am not getting back, no matter how hard people have tried to get me to remember. So in this instance, I just walked up and saw this photo, and I was like, wow, it's so beautiful, like so beautiful. And I looked at what it was called, and it was called monkey flower. And I was like, what? And just this memory just hit me in the face. Just, I couldn't breathe because it was just like something I hadn't remembered for a long time. And I actually texted my mom to make sure that I was remembering correctly. I usually do that when it comes to certain parts of my childhood, so that maybe I'm just not like making it up or something. I was an imaginative child, so I gotta double check with my parents on things sometimes. And just this memory, like I said, it came back and it hit me in the face. I couldn't breathe, and I just heard my grandma's voice for like the first time in years, calling me her little monkey flower. And mind you, this is the same grandma who, when I was born, she and my grandpa argued over what college team I was going to like. And she was really big into Michigan, University of Michigan. And my grandpa was really big into Ohio State. Even though I'm pretty sure they both went to Toledo. I guess they needed me to root for a Big Ten team to keep myself away from the MAC. I don't know. But they apparently had like this all-out argument about it. And my grandma was very much like, she's Michigan. I can feel it. And they settled on me rooting for all Ohio State sports except for hockey. And my grandpa said it was okay because I wasn't going to like hockey. Joke's on him. Joke's on him. And I just was blown away because it was like I'm living in Western Michigan now, a place where I didn't even think I would ever want to live until I came to visit. A place that many people have told me that I would love and I would probably end up moving here, which I scoffed at all of them. But my grandmother, who I look a lot alike, I share so many similarities in personality and walk and hair, everything. When I go back to Dunkirk, Ohio, the friends that my mom had or that they had that are still alive, friends that couple friends, stuff like that, they look at me and sometimes they get confused. One time I was there and a lady with dementia she just didn't really know everything that was going on, and she saw me and she kept calling me Camille over and over and over. And my grandma's best friend just like grabbed my hand and was like, you look 1,000% like her, and that's gonna screw some people up. And they all went through all the ways that I'm just like her. And so seeing that she called me her little monkey flower, and she loved the monkey flower, apparently, according to my mom, after I texted her to make sure I wasn't crazy. I felt like she was saying hi, like I was in the right place. I knew I was in the right place. Sometimes I doubt myself on my decision to come here, but that's more like loneliness because I miss my family. And I don't know, like I don't think I would have had that moment and had that moment of clarity too if I went with someone else. If I had forced someone to come with me who maybe didn't want to go or didn't really have the time, it just would have been something that kind of hit, and then I just would have gone about my business and then questioned it later. But because I went alone, because I was able to make space and time for each of the murals, when I got to that one, I was ready to experience something very beautiful. And I know that not everyone who loses their memories from concussions get them back, and I know I'm so lucky when they come back to me. And so it's just another reminder of just some of the beautiful and lucky things that are in my life that make my life so great. You know, at any moment, a memory could come back. A song could bring it back. A painting underneath a bridge could bring it back. And I'm always so thankful for that. You know, would have been a lot different, like I said, if I didn't go alone. Now, also, what was so cool, a lot of people don't know this about me. I don't really talk about it a lot. I don't know why. Not publicly. I talk about it privately with people all the time. But everywhere I've ever lived, I've always had a relationship with the homeless community in that city or that greater city area. And I don't mean just like volunteering with homeless people. I mean like a literal relationship. Like I've created really good relationships with some homeless people. It all started in Chicago when I was like 5 or 6. My dad would take us into the water tower from Lyons. We'd hop on the train in Riverside and we would go to the water tower, and there was this lady, and she was called the Pigeon Lady, which, yes, very similar to the lady in Home Alone 2, which I'm older than that movie. So, I'm not saying that was about her, but it could have been, because she was cool. And if anyone in the Chicago area had met her and then went on to write on Home Alone 2, I would believe that it was about her. I'm sure Central Park had their own Pigeon Lady as well, because New York City is eclectic and magical. Same thing with a lot of big cities, especially like Chicago. So that's where it started. We would go, I would sit there and I would talk with her. And for the longest time, I did not know, like, she was homeless. I was just like, Dad, this woman is so cool. I'm bringing her sandwiches because I'm like, let's eat together. We're going to feed the birds. She was so cool to me because I was a little bit into drama, like theater, when I was younger. I still am. But to the point where I was just a very dramatic child. When we were feeding the birds, I would be singing Mary Poppins, Feed the Birds, in a British accent, because who doesn't want to hear that in downtown Chicago? But we created a good relationship with her, and honestly, I don't remember her name. I'll have to ask my dad if he ever got it. But she was so kind and so sweet, and she taught me a lot of life lessons. And like I said, we would just sit there and talk. When I finally found out she had, that she was homeless, it just was like a string of bad luck for her. Her husband, I think it was her husband, had passed away, and something else happened, like with their house, and she just went and started drinking because she was so upset, and she was supplementing and trying to fill this hole within her and to function. And then she just end up on a run of bad luck and was living on the streets. And as she, I guess these years went on, she just found a lot of comfort living on the streets of Chicago, especially with the birds and around the water tower area. So she, at some point, she said at some point in her life that she would maybe consider not being homeless anymore, but that she actually found a lot of peace in living a life that was very simple. Not easy, mind you. And it took her, she said, a long time to get to that place in her mind where she stopped fighting it. She wasn't getting the jobs. She wasn't, the things just weren't working out. And after, I think it was multiple decades, she just kind of was like, this is my life and I'm going to embrace it and I'm going to treat everyone with kindness. And she just, I don't know, it was really cool to watch her live that life that way, knowing that she struggled so bad. And that after so long of being on the street and depending on the kindness of strangers, she found comfort in the city. I mean, I find a lot of comfort in that city. I don't blame her for finding comfort in that city. And then she just turned around and she used her kindness to just sit with people, feed birds, and talk to people. And she was just an open ear. I remember one time we went for lunch and there was a girl who was walking by and she was sobbing. She was in tears and nobody gave a shit. Nobody stopped her. Nobody checked to make sure she was okay. And I remember watching that with her and my dad. And my dad was a little perplexed, but he also felt weird being a man going up to a young girl and being like, hey, what's going on? Like, he just wasn't sure if there was a line there and if he was crossing it. But I remember, she stopped what we were doing. She stopped mid-conversation. She stopped eating and headed towards this girl and just said in the kindest tone ever, do you need a hug? Do you want to sit and feed the birds with me? And I was like, if this girl says yes, I'm joining. And the girl said yes, gave a hug. I joined the hug. And all of us sat there for hours listening to her talk. I don't even remember why she was crying. And so because of that moment, it put homeless people into a very different light for me. And my dad, I'm so thankful that he allowed me, this little kid, to just hang out with this beautiful woman, because homeless people are people. And we are all one bad day, one bad hour, one bad moment away from having to live on the streets. And the way it's framed oftentimes is everyone's a drug addict, everyone's been this, everything's been that, oh, they're all crazy. They're not. And if they are having that moment, I think we need to unpack why they're having that moment, why they are there, what happened to lead them there. And and not every homeless person wants to be helped. What I mean by that is, like, they're not all begging or trying to get something from someone. A lot of them are just trying to live. They're just trying to survive, and they just want to be treated like humans. And I'm so thankful that I had that moment, because I met someone, like a person, like a friend. I have a new friend. And I was so excited. I was at the Monkey Flower painting and he was sitting nearby. And he was just like, oh, do you want me to move so you can take a picture? I was like, oh, no, it's okay. I can, shoot around you, no big deal. And he asked me what it was about the painting that evoked such emotion. And I explained it to him. And then we just started talking. He introduced himself. His name is Hustle. That's the name he goes by. And it had just been his birthday. And we were just talking, like we're talking about me moving there. He was talking about how the people who ran this Pleasant Peninsula bought him a birthday gift, which I thought was so sweet. He showed me the card. They had bought him some like drawing, like pencils and stuff, because they had heard that he used to be an artist and he loves art so much. And I thought it was really beautiful because it's really simple and they didn't have to do anything. And they decided to acknowledge Hustle for who he was and do something nice for him. And then while we were talking, a group of kids came up, young adults, I would say young adults came up. They were gathering up bottles and cans so that they could recycle them for money. And which Michigan has a great program with that. I wish more states hopped along with that. New York does it too. But they were just like, it was great because they were just like talking to each other, just friends, just shooting the breeze. He was checking to make sure that they were okay. They were checking to make sure that I was okay. And what I mean is that if he was safe and who was I? And I loved that. Then when they left, he explained how much the homeless community in Grand Rapids really care for each other, and there's a lot of them who watch out for each other. They help each other get ready for job interviews. They help each other fill out paperwork they might need to get housing. They share meals together if they have to, and they hold each other accountable too. And it's just like a little community. And I don't know, I love that. It was kind of like that in Akron. It was starting to get that way in certain parts of Akron. I got to know a lot of them from my old job. And then I would just kind of like, be in downtown and just hang out, get dinner with some of them, buy them dinner, depending on where we were. Or I would make dinner and we'd have a picnic, something like that. Or they would get dinner from, like, people would go around and do like these meals things out of their cars or their vans, and so they would get those, and then we'd meet in the park, and then I would bring my own dinner because obviously I did not feel right taking from those cars or vans. And it was just, I don't know, it was just great. And it was a nice little reminder too, like, oh cool, like this is like a little piece of home for me. And I, if someone was with me, I don't think that moment would have happened either. That longer moments, like I think a lot of people are uncomfortable by strangers in general, and a lot of people are uncomfortable by strangers who are different than them, who have a different life than they have right now. And a lot of people also just don't know that about me, and that I like will talk to anyone. That if the vibes are good, I'm chatting with you, we're bonding, we're friends now. And so I just loved it. I don't know, like it was just great, and made me feel amazing to have like a nice, wonderful conversation where I got to know the city and the people a little bit better. They also told me what areas to stay away from. I explained to him that I'm a little bit too adventurous, especially when I'm alone. When I'm alone, I get myself into problems. I get myself into situations where I shouldn't be. And so he drew me a nice little map and told me streets of like where to not go and areas not to go, which I appreciated a lot. Another thing that was really cool too for me was nobody knows who I am here. And at first that was really scary. And I have found it lately to be lovely. It's so nice to be able to blend in to the crowd. So nice to go on my timetable. It's so nice to not have to worry if anyone's gonna run into me, and if I like accidentally don't notice them, and that they take it super seriously. You know, it's nice. No one knows who I am. So for now, while no one really knows who I am, I'm just gonna keep doing things alone. I'm going to keep doing things alone regardless, because I've actually been enjoying it a little bit. I do really love being around my friends that I have here. I wish I could see them more, because I love them all so much. But I know with our schedules, it's not really possible. So it's also nice because I used to travel to find this solitude, and I didn't realize that until I sat down and reflected on being alone, right? I used to travel a lot because it would be the only time I would have alone, where I could just turn on my phone and no one would be knocking at my door, and I could sit in a hotel with the temperature on like 66 degrees, and I could wear no pants and not have to worry about someone knocking on the door and me having to throw pants on, because I'm very anti-pants. But now I get to be in my own home and have this solitude without having to take a trip. And so once people start to get to know me more, once I start to get to know more people, I need to figure out how to emulate that without having to take so many trips. Because I think that's what contributed to part of my burnout when I was in Ohio. I definitely would burn out a lot. And I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like being burnt out. It's not fun. No fun. So do things alone, like truly alone, and turn off your phone or put it on like do not disturb, you know, and just be in these moments and experience what's in your town. Just experience it and enjoy it and have so much fun with it, with yourself in your own company, and allow yourself these moments to just like think, you know. And I don't mean overthinking. Okay. A lot of us overthink. I do sometimes. I mean, like, allow these things to soak in to you and just marinate on them. Think about them. Think about what you're seeing. What kind of emotion are you feeling? Unpack those, you know, and just experience it all. Just take those moments. Don't take those moments for granted, because you're not, you know, always going to be alone in that sense. And when you are alone, you might not be able to handle it. Like myself, I could not handle it in the beginning. It took me, I'm being real honest, it took me 4 months before I started doing things alone here. It was almost 4 months. That's a long time. It's a long time. So I'm glad I did it, and I'm going to do it again. I'm probably going to do it again this weekend. Do something alone. Because I can. Because I want to. Because I enjoy life. So, thank you guys for listening to me ramble a little bit. I enjoy talking to you, telling you about my life. I am so looking forward, though, to having interviews next season. I already have a few lined up. So, enjoy your life, guys. Life is the longest thing that we do, but it doesn't have to be the most serious thing. All right? Be kind and love always.